Well, hello, my friends. Today I want to look at one of the most incredible books of the Old Testament. Now, it's all good, of course, but the book of Esther is an amazing book. Now, before we get started, let me just say that it is one of only two books in the Bible that are named after a woman, the other being Ruth. And there's no mention of God in the book, but we see the hand of God working all throughout this book. And there's five main characters that are the book is focused around. Number one, King Ahasuerus, Vashti, his queen, begins the book there. The wicked man named Haman, Esther, and Mordecai. And so today I just want to look at primarily Esther and Mordecai throughout this book, because if you've never read this book, you need to read the book and just see how God works and preserves his people, even in a time of difficulty. And Mordecai had been taken captive from Israel in the second captivity, when the same captivity and exile that Ezekiel went in. His uncle had and his wife had died during the exile, and so Mordecai is raising his cousin, his first cousin, and her name is Esther. And the scripture tells us that she listened to him all through her younger years. She listened to Mordecai. She treated him as a father. And so when she was put in the position as queen, she continued to listen to him. She did not reveal her heritage, that she was of Jewish heritage, and Mordecai had instructed. But anyway, the long and short of it is, wicked Haman had a plot to kill all of the Jews and so on. And Esther, for such a time as this, Mordecai says, you've been placed in this position in order to save the Jewish people. But Mordecai, I thought it was interesting. He was an older man, and he was in support, of course, of Esther. And there was a time when Esther was getting ready to go before the king to plead her case. She told Mordecai, she said, get the people to pray for me. And Mordecai listened to her. Now, she's an authority now. And all of her life, she had listened to Mordecai. But now Mordecai listens to her and begins to fast and pray and get the people to fast and pray. So when Esther goes before the king, he will accept her. And so Mordecai, of course, the story goes that the king accepted Esther. The wicked plot was revealed, and Haman and his sons were killed, and the Jewish people defended themselves, and so on. But it was all a setup. God was working through the whole time. Mordecai was placed in a position second to the king. And this took place. We have to understand the setting of the book of Esther. The book of Esther took place between the chapter 6 and chapter 7 of the book of Ezra. Now, there were three exiles. One was when Daniel was carried into Babylon. The second one was Ezekiel, and of course Mordecai. And the third was when the final exile, Jeremiah was prophesying in Jerusalem, but the final exile took place in 586. But there were three returns. One was under Zerubbabel, and the second was under Ezra. And the division is between Ezra 6 and 7. Well, between Ezra 6 and 7 is when this happened with Esther, and how God used Esther and Mordecai to preserve his people when the enemy wanted to destroy them. Well, it was a setup, because just a few years later, Nehemiah would come back to Jerusalem to rebuild the city. And Nehemiah was in a place of position. So God was working and God is moving. What I would like to leave with you today is to help you to understand that God is always working. He's always putting pieces of the puzzle together. We can't see it. No one would have dreamed that Esther and Mordecai would have played such a major role in preserving the people and setting it up for Nehemiah to come and for Ezra to come and to to work on the temple and rebuild the city walls. So I encourage you, my friends, when you just don't know what's going on, remember God's in control. God is working something good. And He's working something good in your life. He's working something good in our nation. We can't see it, but He's working something good. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you back tomorrow. Bye-bye.